Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. This is Faith Family Focus. I am one of your hosts, Faith Suggs, former Duke basketball graduate, and currently working as Director of Basketball Operations and Social Media Manager with Long Island University Women's Basketball. And this wonderful man to the left of me is my father, Shafer Suggs, former NFL player for the New York Jets and Cincinnati Bengals, and also served on the executive board and vice president with the NFL former players of Chicago crew. Dad, good morning.
Good morning, Faith. Big day yesterday. A lot of sports. Except you didn't mention that the New York Jets lost again, but a lot of sports. NBA, WNBA, baseball. So kind of filled my day a little bit.
Right? Yep, and it continues tonight, Monday Night Football with Lamar Jackson versus Patrick Mahomes. So, battle of the young black quarterbacks, exciting Super Bowl champions defending the crown, et cetera, et cetera. Pretty cool seeing all this stuff come back around. Maybe feels a little bit normal, a little sense of normalcy.
Right.
But also, to be aware, we are in the middle of a political race, so everyone make sure you get your voting, your absentee ballots, et cetera, et cetera. And also understand that we're still in a pandemic. Good morning, everyone. It's starting to spike a little bit places, but so please be safe, take care of yourself. We want to continue to be playing some sports and enjoying everyone we love. So if you are new to us, we are Faith Family Focus. We want to use our stories and our experience to try to strengthen the minds of our viewers and those around us. Good morning. Keep trickling in. For those of you who are noticing, our consistent viewers always say hello, send us a like, etc. We have a website, faithfamilyfocus.net, with blogs, videos, anything you wanted to check up on. Good morning, everyone. Yes, it is Monday. Yay, ecstatic. Back to work for those of us who are still. But
Hey, I need to ask you a question. Do you have a Long Island University Sharks mask?
yes, I do.
Oh, you don't have it to display on it. Yeah.
No, I don't have it in my pocket right now. It's weird, but it's bright.
Well, that's neat. So
Yeah.
how was your weekend?
It was good, nice rest, cookout a little bit with close friends, the people I worked with, so my little bubble, I should consider that the bubble we have, and just relaxing, sleeping, working out, enjoying the short weekends that we get now, because we're back to business, and soon basketball will consume our weekends very soon, so back to normal almost for collegiate sports. I know the MAC we talked a little bit about this last night with Devin. Talk us a little about what the MAC is doing, Dad, for football and what your opinion is on it.
Well, they are coming back, like most of the conferences, at least the BCS conferences are coming back, but they're only playing 6 games, and I just feel that that's kind of cheating, just really trying to get that season in, but only playing 6 games is not very many games, and was just kind of force it. But it is good that it's opening up the possibilities of football. Obviously, it's very good to watch football. We see more and more fans each week, but you still have to maintain a level of cautiousness because we're going to probably spike again. I know that here, I don't know if you're aware of this, but the parents and the students here, the college athletes, are filing a lawsuit here in Illinois for fall sports right now. All the surrounding states are playing football, so that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But we're still in a very different time, Faith. When do you think that your basketball season is going to start on time?
We will see. As of right now, we have a November 25th start date on collegiate basketball. Right now, we only have 4 to 5 non-conference games because it's hard with traveling and the travel stuff, with the restrictions, quarantines. Obviously, they have now said that we have a mandatory 3 test rule a week when basketball season hits the fan. So we're ready for that. So we will see. But conference games are supposed to be full go. There is word of a bubble idea for a lot of collegiate sports. Where everyone gets the opportunity to compete this season. So it's going to be interesting. Obviously, March Madness is going to look a little different if we get to that point, hopefully. because we are going through winter months. So I hope everyone, is understanding that everyone's going to start getting sick a little bit, whether it's the flu or anything. So take care of yourself, and hopefully the kids can stay healthy and stay inside. I
Right.
just don't want to do that, but we will see. Um, but yeah, but today, I mean, we're going to dive into something a little bit around the way, since we're talking about student athletes. Our student athletes got to where they are because they worked hard, but for the few things that we have been through, you've been through twice with two kids. We're going to bring back something we touched a little bit earlier on when our show originally began, back around April, which is kind of navigating the college process, the student athlete lifestyle with parents and kids through our own experience, but also trying to apply it a little bit to what's going on today in the pandemic, and maybe we could sort out a little bit of a solution and some cool tips for people who are going through it. First, I think this is the first thing that is most important and something we talk about is during the recruiting process in youth sports, because every kid has a dream of playing at the next level or getting a college scholarship for free, which is wonderful. The biggest thing for me is who are you? What are your values? What are things that are important to you?
Mhm.
For me, in the process, looking into the recruiting process, as a young kid, you don't think that all the things matter. But now that you're trying to find a home away from home, a new community, a few things really do matter. So a few things for me I wrote down, which is values, of course. Is there a religious base? Do the team and the kids align with maybe how I grew up, or maybe do they challenge me to kind of become a better person? Geography, how close it, far away is it?
Hmm.
Notre Dame and Michigan were too close for me because Shafer could just drive on over. North Carolina was just a nice enough hour and a half flight, um, as accessible as I wanted to be. So that is why I chose to be out in North Carolina, which was wonderful, amazing. It's a really cool place. You got mountains, beaches, all types of stuff. It's a different kind of South than what we are used to. So I enjoyed it a lot. I'm glad I applied that. The peers, obviously, who's the team, and then accessibility. I mean, do I have the resources, the support staff, and stuff like that? And then, of course, the head coach. Can I see the relationship with that person? Do they have great communicative skills? Or they developed their players, etc. But I know Dad and I have had many discussions about this, but we really didn't write down these things. I don't think as for my I can remember, but I remember we were at a basketball camp, the Nike basketball camp, and Carolyn Peck was speaking. And Carolyn Peck said that you should always write down a list of things that you want when you're going through this process, right? Write them out from the very beginning and then put them away. So that eventually when you get to a point you're making a decision, you can open that list back up and check off, okay, does this school that I think I want to go to have this, this, and this? Because it's easy to lose yourself in the process. It's easy to kind of lose your ideas because you nowadays they can surprise you with the glitz and the glamour and the amazing stuff in front of you, the social media, the photo shoots, the gear. Yeah, right. You lose track of what you're really choosing, and
Hmm.
so that is one of the best forms of advice that I have heard. And Dad, I don't know if you remember that, but touch a little bit about on that as a parent watching me kind of navigate those things, and talk a little bit about how important those things are when choosing a school.
Well, when you get to a point where you have the opportunity, we'll talk a little bit about what it takes to get the opportunity. But when you get to that point, you actually were able to get to that point earlier. I would say eighth and ninth grade, where you were able to at least get an opportunity to see the possibilities. And I think the first big actual college camp you went to was the University of Tennessee, which was the time your dream school, and you were able to hear um, conversations from Coach Pat Summit, really kind of talking to the younger girls. I don't know if I remember the age range, but I think they were high school girls, and really just kind of get the kids to understand what it takes to be a Division One elite college athlete. And for me, watching it, not only was I proud, but I had to really kind of take a step back. And although I played, at the highest level, but my recruiting process, as you well know, was very, very, very different. So
Right.
fortunately, I had a pretty good mentor, Coach Smith, They kind of allowed me to navigate, but didn't, more importantly, really find out what my role was as a parent, and remember that it's not me getting recruited, it's Shafer Suggs getting recruited.
Right.
So during that process, it was a really enlightening to see that, and also watch other parents um, probably step out of the path and how it impacted the recruiting process.
Right.
So for me, it was a learning experience. You were a learning experience because everything happened very, very fast. It was a lot at one time.
Right. So by taking that, let's take a little pivot, and we're talking about all the things that matter and the things that we look for in this process when it leading up to making the decision, the choice. And um, these, when we say these things, it's not just because you're supposed to follow these guidelines. It's because these things really do apply within your first couple of years of college, right? You're now in this place, and everyone knows who's been to college knows that your first year, your just eyes are wide open, and you're just walking into everything that's new, right? It's a new experience. You're on your own. You're independent. You're making new friends. You're making new habits, right? And you're trying to form this new you, this next step of your life, in the second quarter of your life. And these things really do apply. Now, if you go to a school, and this is the thing about college athletics, it's hard. It's really hard. And you constantly feel those first couple years that you're not doing enough, you're not doing well, you're still trying to learn everything, right? Because it's a complete change. It's so important to have these things that you remembered that matter to you, right? So say you're a kid who really loves be around your family, and your family is your support system, right? And they provide you strength. Maybe geographically, you should go to a school a state away or 2 states away so that your family can, you can go home and get a home cooked dinner, right? Or someone can take care of you, if those type of things. For me, I didn't really need all that because we were able to phone call away. We were on the phone all the time. So it wasn't that, for me, wasn't that big of a deal. But understanding what are the things you need in these little lists that you made that apply during the year, right? Geographically, your values. Did you want to find a church on campus? Okay. Your peers. Are you able to bond with your teammates in those couple of years? Because those are the people you're around literally 15 hours of the day, right? And then can you speak to your head coach when you're frustrated or confused? Can you speak to the coaching staff? Do you relate to them? Do you understand them? Do they understand you? Do they have your best interest at heart? All these things are applicable during your first couple of years of college, and key to a lot of reasons why there's a lot of transfers within the first 2 years of college sports, because kids end up in land places where that don't align with who they are and don't align with what they really wanted in the college process. It's always not playing time. It's a lot more than that. Some kids I've known who have gone to Duke have transferred because it just wasn't diverse enough, right? It was hard for them to adjust because they came from maybe an all black area and now came to Duke, and that was too much for them in a way. So you have to understand, you have to vet, like you like to say, you have to vet the school before you go, because it really does matter. We're not just saying it. This stuff matters. And as parents, you should make sure that your kids understand that, because this is a lot. This is a big decision. This is the start of your new life, right? This is your job. This is your family. This is your friends, your career. So making this step needs to be planned like it's a meticulous move. You know what I mean?
Well, so I'm listening to you, and I'm trying to uh, understand as a parent at the time my role, because those are important things. But if they, although, what is that parent's role in identifying those important variables? The church, because I'm trying to remember, did we have a list of things? I don't think we had a list, but now that,
We knew at the end of the day that for us, it wasn't a list. It was a word. It was academics. That was us. That was
mhm,
our biggest thing. Remember, through our whole process, and the schools that we had chose were top academic in the nation and in the world. And for us, that mattered, and we never strayed away from that. If you can remember, right? We never really went to no offense to anybody is offended by these comments. We never ended up at a Miami or a school that you can just scoot kids on in, right? We ended up with the Stanfords, the Notre Dames, the Michigans, the Dukes, right? Because that mattered to us at the end of the day. That was the one thing we made the decision on. Well, I did, and then you jumped on board because you understood it. Because at the end of the day, I saw it as more of a lifetime decision instead of a
right,
formative decision.
right,
Um,
right.
And that is why I was always happy with my decision, regardless of playing time, regardless of frustrations. I was happy with my decision because I had chose a school that aligned with things I believed in, and I was comfortable with, you know what, academically I'm good. You know what I mean? This, I'm going at a school where I'm being challenged academically, and I'll be set up for future to be in rooms that I can be in and demand boardrooms and tables and learn and meet crazy new people, and you know what I mean? This
Mm-hmm.
is why I chose this school, for networking. That is why I chose that university, because that's what mattered to us, academics. So maybe we didn't have a list, but we had a goal and a value at the end of the day that aligned with who our family was, because you
Right.
raised us that way. And I think
Right.
that is so important, and why I was happy throughout 4 years, even though a lot of kids around me who had the same amount of playing time and same frustrations were extremely unhappy. And that's because they're just, and they transferred because their decision to go to that school was basically off of because it's Duke, or because it's the gear, or the I can be a star, that type of stuff. That was not, I'm high on my list at the end of the day. And that is why I stayed for 4 years.
Right. Right. You touched on that on your solo episode with purpose. That you found that doing those 4 times. But let's talk about parents or student athletes that may not have as many choices that you had.
Right.
So what are some of those core things, maybe the things that they should, I think you shared them, but say someone who only has 4 or 5 schools, and what is that parent's role in helping that guide that student
Right.
make those decisions?
And I think that we're blessed because you had me, who my recruiting process was a breeze. One, because women's basketball, you have a lot more accessibility from a younger age. And then you have Devin, which was
Right.
football, which starts so much later. And we did not know what was coming, right? We
Right.
didn't know who was going to recruit Devin or if he was going to be recruited. We couldn't really value how good he was around football is different. There's no AAU.
Very different.
Right. So with Devin, he came later on, right? The schools came later on. And for us, I just remember that process just was like, how can we get him out there, right? And Devin had a Twitter, and Devin had his little huddle account, and he made his film. And a lot of these things are big, but especially in today's society, visibility is the most important thing in the recruiting process. Getting your child's talent out there so people can see it. Introducing yourself to coaching staffs, right? Reaching out, sending your film out through emails. There's scouting services, picking the right scouting services, and most importantly, having a great AAU program, or a program or a coach who interacts, because everyone interacts with these college coaches that you can trust and that you believe that they have your best interest in mind, right? And not only that, but that coach also needs to understand your values, right? So say Devin wants to go to an Ivy. Devin always loved Stanford. Like, that was his dream. He was so mad that we didn't take a visit to Stanford. He will never forgive me till this day. And Devin believed in academics from the beginning as well, right? Because he was a very bright student, because he was held back in kindergarten. But they won't tell you.
He wasn't held back. He was just a late birthday.
That is why he's at Yale, because he got a second opportunity. But we knew that about Devin and his coaching. So if someone, like, say a school, I don't really know low academic schools, like say a Virginia Tech.
Well, the requirements to get in the schools are a lot different. GPA.
You can say lower.
Right. Okay.
So Virginia Tech called, and they're like, okay, hey, we're interested in Devin Suggs. Even if, just imagine it's not Virginia Tech. Imagine it's the academic level. Right. We're interested in Devin. Like, can we, like, yeah, you can check him out. You can watch him throw, but just know that he's a very high academic kid. And he, you know what I mean? And Devin will tell him there needs to be a communicative where the coach understands the morals and the values of the family of the student athlete at the end of the day, because you don't want kids to fall places that they won't be happy at, or they won't feel challenged at, because if their mindset is, okay, I want to go to a school that challenges me academically, and they end up at a school that's a breeze, and then they graduate with a degree, as wonderful as a degree is, they're not happy with what their opportunities are, right? Or maybe, like, you know what I mean? You don't want someone to end up somewhere just because you want the big name, or you want your coach, because I got a kid who's going this way, right? You have to make sure you form relationships with people who support what your kid and what your family believes in. And that's so important because Coach Smith was key in my recruiting process because they call him, right? And leading up, they call the AAU coach first. They can't call parents and families, they call the coaching staff. That's what people understand. So having a great coach you trust and you have great communication with is key in a lot of kids. So if you're not getting a lot of looks, pick a great place to be, right? Surround yourself with great players who draw attention, right? That is big. Find a place that you can grow. Don't just pick a random program or environment. If you really want to play at the next level, you have to be smart with your decisions from the very beginning because visibility is key.
Well, that's maybe we should pivot a little bit. Talk a little bit about how you get there and actually picking when a kid finally takes ownership of their play and they begin to start getting the attention, and
Mm-hmm.
then all of a sudden, as a parent, you start hearing the noise in regards to where they should be as far as the most exposure. We were
Mm-hmm.
very fortunate because we played for Coach Smith's dream team, and there were obviously a lot of exposure there, but a lot of kids did. So be aware of the different types of programs out there, their values, and the importance of them. Are they just add another player because they want the fees, or do they legitimately? Is it a good culture that will nurture not only your talent but nurture the opportunities for you? Because there's a lot of programs we call them money grabs. They're out there, camps, and as a parent who may not have when you finally realize that your kid, you start getting those letters, you start getting the attention, and that not just, I mean, there's single parents that don't have a clue,
Yeah.
and you have what you call third party people coming in and just really kind of taking the narrative for their own benefit sometimes.
Right.
So it can get confusing early on. We were fortunate because I was all over it, but that's not necessarily true with a lot of families.
Yeah.
And it's really important to be around a trusted environment,
Right.
because that, in a lot of cases, kids end up in the wrong place sometimes as a result of that. Do you agree?
Yes, and that's why when we say support system, it isn't always
Mhm.
just to keep the kid out of trouble. It's also to make sure the kid has people who have their best interest at heart, like instead of just their own. Because it's hard with youth sports. You'll be surprised. There's a lot of people who are in youth sports. One, because it's easy to coach in youth sports. Secondly, they make a lot of money off these travel programs, football,
Yeah.
basketball, soccer. I mean, think about parents watching. Think about how much you've spent on travel programs, jerseys, cleats, bags, all the stuff that's supposed to be included. Not only that, but travel, trips, hotels, etc.
Hotel.
To these tournaments. So they make a lot of money off these kids, right? There's maybe 12 teams in a program. You have to make sure you have someone, one, who knows your kid individually, knows who they are, so that when they talk to these college coaches, they're presenting who the kid is, not who the kid should be or who they want to say they are. Because sometimes your kid can get undersell, right?
I mean, so yeah,
And you
yeah.
don't want that. You do. I mean, why would you want that? That's terrible. This person is responsible for taking care of your child and presenting them to the world of collegiate sports, right? As college coaches, we only have the word of the program or the coach until we get to talk to the kid individually. So
That's so important. Not an oversold, but in a lot of cases, oversold. Because now they're putting in place, putting the kids somewhere they shouldn't be,
you have no idea.
right?
Some of these coaches are lying. Like,
Well, you got visibility because you're on the other side now. Tell us about that.
yes, and that's terrible for the kid because then the kid is put in a position, one, where they can't succeed. Two, now they're thinking, first of all, that's a mental health toll. Like, being in a college sports is extremely tolling on your brain. Okay, because you're constantly challenged every single day as if you're good or you're bad. You play, you don't, then you must be terrible, right? That it's hard. You have to be mentally strong to with the hours, the challenges, the lack of sleep. So now you have these kids put places where they don't fit in, and college coaches are upset that you're not as good as the coach says you are. So they're not going to talk to you, right? That happens because
Right.
you lied about who you are, and people lie all the time to get their kids into schools. So that is definitely a thing. So don't oversell, but be honest until they can see them. And make sure that, because eventually you'll be able to talk to the college coaches. No one's ever committed off of no communication from a collegiate coach.
Right.
But the first wave and the first person who sets who you are is your coach.
Coach or your travel team, which is your
Right.
coach. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, if the program is a mess, the
Right.
college coach is a mess. If he's stealing money, if he's selling kids, you know what I mean? If he's saying, all right, we'll give me 1,000 on the table.
Well, there's a lot
That
of
happens more on the men's side and in football, obviously. But no, I'm sorry. It happens on the women's side as well.
right, right.
Parents are offered positions on coaching staffs or stuff like that, right? So just make sure you work with someone who has your best interest at heart. I played with you for a period of time until 8th grade-ish, and then I fully committed to, college travel basketball, etc., high school travel basketball. One, because, you stopped so far, but it's like, it's so important for you to have people in your circle that really understand everything you're about to walk into.
Mm-hmm.
Because they could oversell or they could undersell, or they could just really be taking your money, because they do that. That's way too. How much money do people spend on soccer travel?
Yeah.
And you know how many kids are on a soccer team? Really think about it. Some of these travel programs have 20 kids on a bench. None of those kids are playing. You know what I mean? And there's money put in. These kids aren't getting visibility. So these are kids who are getting low college visibility and college offers, and they're stressing out. So you have to be in the right place.
Yeah, you're right. Let's talk about something that now that you are on the other side, and you can see it. Um, when a kid is good enough to be in college and they're there, but they really don't want to be there because the parents want it more than they do. Or when they get there, they realize that's the case. Okay, what happens? Why does that happen?
What do you mean? Why does that happen?
Why does that happen? Why did
the very beginning? That goes with a little bit of the things you cannot do as a parent. You cannot want things more than your kids from the very beginning, because now you're setting. We form habits, right? It takes 21 days to form a habit. That's 18 years of a habit of that kid not ever wanting to play that sport for themselves. So then when you get to college and it's immediately isolation mode, right? You're isolated from your families. You cannot talk to them for 24 hours of your day like you normally do. When you see them, we just walk out of your bedroom. Now you're like, dang, I really don't want to do this. I really don't care anymore. I'm just here. That is what happens. That happens.
Yeah. You know what also happens? There's no one there enabling them.
Yeah.
They get into the environment. Now they're held accountable for not work ethics. These are kids that are extremely talented, right? And coaches see that they have potential, but they have a lack of discipline because either the parents or the coaching staff, the situation they were in high school, enabled them.
Yeah.
Enabled them, and coaches take a chance on them. So when they get there, they are now struggling because all of a sudden I can't get away with not going to class. I can't get away with slacking on wind spring. I can't get away with getting to practice play. I can't get away with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
college basketball is a lot. First of all, we had how many kids on our team that year, junior year at home with Flossmoor? 18 to 20 kids on a basketball team. Okay? You can hide within 18 to 20 kids. When you get to college sports, you cannot hide. There's more eyes on you. There's more assistant coaches. There's more assistants to the assistant coaches, right? There's academic advisors who are watching your grades, who are checking with your professors, make sure you're at class. There's nutritionists who have you on a scale to see if you're eating chicken wings and pizza every night, right? There's a strength coach who's checking to see if you can make your mile time, which is a test you have, right? There's constant amount of people watching you. So if you are someone who walks into this experience, one, not wanting to be there, first of all, you're going to eat chicken wings. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to, like, why do I want to be here? Why do I have to keep doing all these things? It's exhausting. Because it is. You have to really want to be there, or be really mentally strong to be able to do collegiate sports, because it's a business, it's a machine. You are now $79,000. You are worth $79,000 the moment you walk into that. So a Duke student athlete is worth $79,000. That school has now spent, let me say it again, $79,000 on you.
Yeah.
Each year. Times that by 4.
Yeah.
If you're telling me you think that they're not going to monitor every single thing you do, every
Right.
failure you make, every mistake, scholarships are not 4 years guaranteed. You redo your scholarship every
1 year renewable.
So if you are someone who your kid is probably not going to, by summer 1, if your kid is struggling, that might not be the place for them, or this might not be the experience for them.
Does colleges do that initially? I know that now you have a lens on it now, but do you really test those girls when they first come in? Because a lot of times what you see, you've actually vetted these kids, and then all of a sudden they get there, and then all of a sudden there's something completely different.
Well, here's the thing. You could be a really strong cardiovascular strength basketball player in high school. College basketball is a different kind of strength and speed, right?
Yeah.
When I got there, I had to run the 1.5 miles. I am not a distance runner. I'm a short, twitching, muscle fiber athlete. I know that about myself. It is a long sprint thing. I will not, marathons, none of that is not for me. So I struggled a lot with, I'd have to train for 3 months to prepare for just that one time. Well, one morning where I have to run 4 or 5, 6 times run a track.
Yeah, I know.
Because I knew I wanted to be there, and I knew that if I didn't get it, I could not be there. I did it, right? And it's hard. College sports is hard. That's a different kind of. So you could get there and really struggle, and you were just a superstar. That's another thing. Parents will get a lot of calls where they're like, I don't understand why I'm not good. I don't understand why I can't keep up. And it's just like some people literally can't do it. It's hard. It really is hard. There's so many. Devin's gonna call us. He's not gonna call us. He's not gonna call us and tell us it's hard. But moments where he's gonna be like, God, this is hard. Like, I don't wanna. It's hard. They're vetting kids. They're getting rid of kids. That is the point of all these tests. It's to get rid of the ones who don't belong, and that just frees up another scholarship to bring another kid in. It's a machine. They're spending $79,000 on you.
Right.
You're spending $79,000 on your kid. You'd be like, look, you might have to get a new one. You got to go.
Right.
So it's a pressure. It's a multi-million-dollar business.
Right. So how, as a parent, and we've had shows about this, my role, because I really struggled, obviously, the first year, the freshman year, your sophomore year, because I was like, I was so used to being and having visibility to it, but I didn't understand it. And our communication was a lot. It was very seldom. 2 words.
I cut you off.
You cut me off, right? And why was that a healthy thing for you? Because I get it now, but why was that a healthy thing for you?
Because here's the thing, and you did this on the phone with Devin, and I think now you're starting to realize, because I'm like, Dad, don't say that. Let me use an example, because you do this. You'll never change. But we love you for it. And Devin's we're on the phone, and you're talking, and we're just having a good family conversation. You go, well, Devin, how much do you weigh now? And Devin's like, but that's something he's probably tracking now at school, right? That's probably something he's worrying about doing. Parents sometimes, they just want, and you're not wrong for it, you just want to be involved, right? You want to know what's going on because you're used to being involved.
Right.
The thing about kids is when you go to college sports, you have, let's go 30 parents, right? You have 30 people monitoring all the things that you monitored, right? Your grades, all right? You're already stressed about your grades, right? You just got a C on a big Spanish final, you're stressed out, and then you get on the phone with your parents, how's your grades? And you're like, I don't want to, you know what I mean? Or, gosh, I'm really not putting on weight. I'm struggling. The nutritionist keeps trying to make me drink all these chocolate milks. I'm going to lose my mind. Then you get on the phone. How much do you weigh? Are you eating? And it's like, the parents aren't wrong for that, but it's because they're just not there. And that's just another conversation you have to repeat every single thing that you talked about already in your day.
Right.
So that is just that's just what it is. That's what makes it hard for parents to try to stay connected with their kids within the first 2 years. Obviously, here's the thing, why college athletes talk to your parents more towards the last 2 years is because those coaches lay off more. Because the older you get, the less monitoring you have to do on those kids, and that's why a lot more kids are more relaxed, chilled out, less anxiety and stress on themselves, to where they can just go and have a conversation with their parents, kind of like what they used to, right?
Yeah.
That's the only reason that happens. It's not because they hate you. It's because they literally just like, I cannot have this conversation again, right? I'm just too tired to have this conversation. Or a simple question like, how was practice today? And you're just like, I can't even talk. I'm so tired to talk about practice. You know what I mean? My mouth is tired. So just that's why that happens. It's not a because they hate you thing. It's just because of how the ball rolls at that level. I mean, that's a think about it. Devin probably on a Friday, I called him Friday night, and he was so excited. He got a haircut. He's at a fresh market. He said it like 10 times. I'm at the fresh market because he's trying to be healthy now. And he was like, this is the first time. Normally when I talk to him, he's in bed. Literally like in bed with his covers, because in the morning you get up at 5:45, you got weights, right? And then you got conditioning. And then you go knock out 4 classes. And then you come back and you go basketball practice, football practice, right?
Right.
And have a treatment, you do study hall. And then next thing you know, you look at the clock, it's 8:30 p.m.
Oh, yeah, I know.
That is, so then you got to be like, God, all these people called me or texted me today. I'm just too tired to text back.
Well, so as you I always go back to our show that we did on Friday with Greg Jones and Art Lax, and they were football players, and I remember us not even having those conversations with our parents
because there's no technology like that.
There's no technology, right? So you just had to figure it out, right? And I get it. I think more now with you, but then with him, as a parent, you not only do you miss them, but you want to kind of know how they're progressing,
right?
Or how they're progressing. I mean, that's just a human nature as a parent, right? And then the fact that you can't go to games it's difficult for me because I can't go to games. There's no games, right? Last year I was at every practice. So I got like cold turkey right now. It isn't talent, but I understand what you're saying because I remember being in that world. I just didn't have an opportunity to have those kind of conversations. I don't know if I even wanted to have those conversations. I was just on too instinctive, having to figure things out myself.
Right. Right.
So,
and now, like I'm the one who gives you the information. Like I literally. Yeah, I'm like, Devin, how's practice? But Devin will tell me. I don't have to ask him because Devin knows, because now I am Devin's output, right? Now I'm the one he can talk to. He's like, yeah, we had practice today. I'm like, well, I saw on your Snapchat that you were up at 5:45. You're like, yeah, we had weights. I said, we'll be through. And then he starts talking, kind of outpouring all the things that are on his mind. And then what I do is then I call you. And then you were like, well, I asked him this. I said, well, this is why I called you, to give you the answers to what you asked him.
Right.
Like, you're not getting the answers for him. It's got to go. One person can be the one to get you may get things that I don't get, but it's very limited communication when kids are in those spaces.
Mm-hmm.
That is why when we talk about those spaces, we talk about mental health back in May. That is why those spaces are so key, because they can't talk to their parents and family as much as they want to. That's why it's so important that we check on these kids as often as we can, through therapy and just having a great coaching staff, like we did talk about earlier in the show. So much stuff. This is a big commitment in a 4 years. It's literally like you sign your life away. We joke about it all the time. You sign your life away for 4 years. And that is why you have to pick the right place. Because when you're there, you really are in a completely different arena.
So tell the viewers, is there a legitimate reason to transfer from a school?
Yes.
Okay, maybe you can share some and I think I know the answer, but I want to kind of hear from you. Maybe you could kind of share some of the reasons why it's a good idea to possibly change environments.
Yeah, I have so many friends that have transferred, and it was great for them. I have friends who transferred 3 times. Great for them. My friend Crystal Prin transferred, went to Auburn, had a great experience at Auburn, loved that coach. Then she transferred to Florida Atlantic and played for her dad. So it was like a cool little, she did that.
Wait, she did?
Yeah. Terry, Coach Terry was at
I didn't know that.
got to play for him her final year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then she was close to home because she's from Miami, for West Palm Beach. So the thing about transferring is, first of all, the beauty of transferring is it's an opportunity to start over. Okay, maybe you don't get along with the coaching staff you're with. Here's the thing about coaches: they don't change, right? So if your game doesn't fit into their system, then you should transfer, right?
Mm.
If they don't know how to coach you and stuff like that, then that's okay. And there's a mutual decision like, hey, I'm not playing as much as I want to, and it's really because I just can't figure out this offense, or I don't really fit well into this situation, this system, this program. Or I've had people go to schools where they're like I said earlier, they racially are just uncomfortable with where they are, right? It's just different at some schools, right? And so they transfer for that to go to a school that may be more diversity around them, right? People they can relate to, more clubs and programs that support them, right? Academically, they want to be challenged more. Or maybe sometimes you go to a school and they don't have the major or travel of study that you need, right? A lot of kids are transferring right now. They'll finish early. They'll get their credits in. This is a volleyball thing. They get all their credits in so they can graduate early, and then they do their so they can go to a 1-year master's program.
Mm-hmm.
Transfer to another school for 1 year's master's program, or go to USC back home. Right? This is all normal things, right?
Mm-hmm.
As long as it's beneficial for you, you have to be able to look at it and be like, is this going to help me grow as a person, a student, and an athlete? If it's not, and you're just transferring because your butt hurt that you're not playing, that you may end up if you're the problem and you put you in another environment, you're still going to be the problem. You know what I mean? That is,
Right.
and that's anything in life.
Right.
And parents have to. That's the thing about parents. I know you guys love your kids, but if your kids is a butthead, you know it's your fault.
Right. Right.
And they probably won't see it because they made them that way. Because apple doesn't fall far from the tree. You have
Right.
you have to be able to tell your kid, like, is this really what you want to do? What is the reasonings? What's the pros and cons? You have to be the adult. And if your kid is able to, first of all, transferring is a major decision. It's a process, okay? Because you have to have a lot of confrontational conversations before you can leave a university, right? You have to talk with the head coach. You got to talk with the team. You got to tell people I'm leaving. That's hard to do, right? So you have to be very mature to make these decisions. And so normally kids can present like, no, academically I'm not being challenged, or I just really don't feel comfortable diversity wise in this school. I really want to go somewhere where it's more like home, or I miss home, right? I've known people who have transferred because someone has gotten sick in their family. Alexis Jones transferred from Duke to Baylor, right? And so that is what normally happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, my Alexa went off because I said Alexis.
Very
Yeah.
simple.
But I think it's a really great show. I think it was
So,
great.
well, let me so did you ever think about, and I know that you probably, but you ever think about that Duke wasn't the best place for you?
Well, we've had this conversation many times, and every time I've shut you down.
Well, I'm having it because I want the viewers to hear it, right? And I know.
Yeah, you were doing backdoor deals. I don't know what you were doing, but then to me, like, I spoke with so and so. Like, I think that is this something you would want to do? And I'm always like, no. Like, why would? Because here's the thing, and I always said why. I always told you why would I? And
But
you were like,
yeah, I'm sharing this with you because I wanted the viewers to understand that they not only come after the kid, but they come after the parents too.
right.
You always hear that.
Right. And so what I would respond to you would say is, why would I?
Right.
And I was so at the point where it was like, I don't see that as really much of a beneficial change. Like,
Right.
say I wanted to transfer to UCLA, okay? And I'm like, God, I don't see, UCLA is a great academic school. It has a winning men's and women's basketball career. It's in the middle of LA. But I just was like, one, I've made a community here. I started, and I'm also one of those people who's like, if something's bothering me, I'm just gonna push through it. So I started this, so I'm gonna finish this. And I make the best out of what my life is. And that is the kind of person I am. And so I made the best out of my experience. I got a degree from Duke, and I got a minor, and I made the best out of I networked. I still have great relationships with people there. So at the end of the day, I was able to leave that place with a community that's strong and not sever those ties to go to somewhere else and try to
Right.
start.
Right.
And because at the end of the day, and this is why we stayed for 4 years, because in the beginning of the process, to go back to the beginning of the show, we said academics is the number one thing for us.
Right.
In picking a school. And at the end of the
Right.
day, that is the thing that kept me solid to where I was decision wise, and why I spent 4 years, and why I got my degree at Duke. And that is why, because we stuck to the path, we stuck to the lane.
Right. Well, that was a tremendous amount of growth for your dad, to see that your freshman year, sophomore year, because I began to realize what your purpose was by allowing you. It was difficult the first year because I didn't have a lot of conversation with you, right? I was just getting noise. But as I saw you continue to grow, you continue to do the push-ups. You continue to get yourself ready. You didn't make excuses. You got yourself ready, and you made yourself valuable to the team. I saw something really amazing. And your junior year, and actually even your sophomore year, but your junior year and your senior year I got it. I was proud that you stayed the course.
Right.
That really helped me.
Yeah, and the big part about it, and hearing you say that, is you can do that, but you were on the outside, so you're able to kind of. It's not your life anymore, and that's hard.
Right.
That is not your life. It is not your journey. So sit your butts down and just enjoy, because
That's
you
it.
have to go with the role, or else you're gonna be left behind. That is really at the end of the day what it is. Don't be. Do not be that.
That's true all the way in the beginning of the process, the recruiting process. We didn't touch on that, but we have touched on it on other shows. But as a parent, okay, they're recruiting. I know they're recruiting the family because they want to make sure that the parents are not, crazies, but they want to recruit the athlete, and the parents have to stay in their lane, and because that's basically who's being recruited. And I think I learned that early on, but I really learned it later. But with Devin, it was very easy for me, to kind of sit off to the side and allow it to happen and support your decision. I mean, you were fortunate to have a couple of decisions. I was support your decision is something that the parents, and I know there's parents out there that are very influential about where their kids go to school from the beginning. And I don't think that's very healthy, do you?
No, I think it stunts their growth in life.
Yeah.
You're enabling your child.
Yeah.
But yeah. Well, thank you again, everyone, for joining us this wonderful Monday morning. We're so glad you stopped by to discuss all this wonderful stuff, recruiting, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe dive a little more into it now that we're in a pandemic. Obviously, the rules changed just slightly. Our thoughts are with all of you because we know that's really hard to navigate. We'll see you guys on Wednesday to keep it going. Thank you again, Amazon Fire, YouTube, Facebook, Roku, Apple TV, and of course our key platform out of Phoenix, Arizona, E360 TV. Again, this is Faith Family Focus. We want to use our faith as a feel good to help heal and sustain others on strengthening their family core. And of course, like always, our slogan, let go, let God, let go, let faith, let go, let love. Get you a mug. If you don't have one, let us know. Everyone have a wonderful Monday and a good luck this week.